Writing at work. Most of us do most of our writing at work, whether it's simple internal communication via email, planning and coordination of events, sales writing, or communication with customers and clients. Writing skills are indispensable in business. Email has supplanted the phone call as the most popular form of business communication, and it brings with it the higher stakes of the paper trail it creates. Good writing skills at work can protect you and your company, improve your business, and help propel your career to greater heights. The basics. Business email. Email is the most popular mode of business communication. Many of us spend much of the workday reading and writing emails. Although it's easy to go on automatic pilot when you open your inbox, you can significantly improve your productivity and success by paying more careful attention to how you write your email messages. You can have brilliant ideas, but if you can't get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere. Lee Iacocca, American businessman, leader, and author. Introduction. The purpose of an email is usually to make a request, provide information, or ask a question. To help make your message as concise and efficient as possible, it's important to keep your purpose clearly in mind as you write. Because email is such a high-speed medium, it's all the more important to consider your reader's needs, expectations, and likely attitude. If you can anticipate what your reader wants, you're more likely to get the job done with one email rather than a long thread. If you're writing just a quick message, you won't need to do much brainstorming. If your topic is more complex, you'll need to give some thought to how to convey your message best. Organize your email for maximum impact by letting your reader know at the very beginning of the message why you're writing. The model outline offers a structure you can adapt for your own purposes. Tone is a critical issue with emails, so be careful as you draft. Because we email both our friends and our work associates, and because we're usually going so fast, it's easy to make a mistake with the tone. A very quick email probably won't require revision, but a longer one might, especially to condense it for length. Proofread quickly for accuracy to prevent misunderstandings that may require lengthy email threads to sort out. Model outline. An email should be as brief as possible to get the job done. Opening. To orient your reader, say right up front why you're writing. Middle. Fill in any details the reader needs. Keep this section brief. Use bulleted lists to organize complex information. Conclusion. Finish your message by restating your main point, a request, next steps, etc., and thanking your reader. Do limit your email to one topic only. When you try to cover multiple topics in a single message, you run the risk of burying important information. Do use a concise and specific subject line. A good subject line can help readers prioritize messages and find them later. If your message is especially important, consider putting important or response needed in the subject line. Do begin your message with a salutation. Even if it's just the person's name with a dash after it, a salutation is courteous. It is acceptable to drop the salutation once you get into a thread of quick messages. Do make your purpose clear at the beginning of the message. Don't count on recipients to read to the end to figure out what you want. Many of them won't do it. Do keep your message as brief as possible. It shows respect for your reader, and you have a better chance of being read and responded to. Do be courteous. We're all in a hurry, but it doesn't take long to type please and thank you, and you'll get better results. Do make sure your tone is appropriate to your reader and your subject. Do remember to reply to all if the email had multiple recipients. If you forget, it can be a hassle to get everyone caught up. Do remember that email isn't private. Your emails are the property of your company and can be subpoenaed. Even under less dramatic circumstances, your message can easily be forwarded to others, so be sure you are discreet and sensible in everything you write. If you have a question about the appropriateness of what you're putting in your email, err on the side of caution and pick up the phone instead. Do sign your email. Don't send an email when a phone call would be more appropriate. Don't engage in rounds of email when a quick phone call could resolve the question. It wastes your time and your readers. Don't write anything confidential or private in an email. Even if your email is secure, be aware that this is not a private mode of communication. Protect yourself and your company by being discreet and following company policy. Don't copy people on an email unless there's a good reason for it. To some extent, the practices of your organization will guide you, but you should think carefully before you CC, courtesy copy, or BCC, blind courtesy copy, additional readers. Our inboxes are all full enough without emails we really don't need to see. Don't forward an email without thinking about the consequences. When you forward an email, be sure to look down through the entire thread to see if there is any content that should not be shared. Not like this. I've met with my staff, and we have some changes we'd like you to make in the website design. Overall, we're very pleased with it. Can we change the color on the banner to a darker blue? Is there any way the font can be a little larger? It seems hard to read. A lot of our customers will be on laptops, so this is an important concern. Is this something we'll be able to change later? What does the "this" refer to? I thought we had agreed to replace the inappropriate image on the home page. Isabel probably doesn't mean to sound quite so brusque here. She makes it sound as though there is a pornographic image on the home page. She'd be better off restating the agreement they had made earlier in a more diplomatic way. Given these changes, let's push back the launch date by a couple of weeks. Would June 17th work for you? This is an important schedule change for the designer, and it should have been mentioned at the very beginning. It's a bit buried here. Can we get a tutorial at some point in the content management system? This message reads like a quickly written and unrevised first draft. It's not well organized, and it's not easy for the reader to sort out all the information included here. In addition, Marco would like to speak with you about the security breach on the HR site. Is this under control yet? Please let me know ASAP. This is an afterthought about a different matter and doesn't belong in this email. Given the apparently sensitive nature of the problem, it probably shouldn't be in an email at all. The writer would be better off picking up the phone to get an update. Thanks. It would be more courteous for Isabel to use a salutation at the beginning of the message and to use a proper closing. Like this. Hi, John. Thanks for the latest round of website design. We really like it. We have a few changes to request, which will likely delay the launch. Is June 17th a good new launch date? Isabel alerts John to the new launch date at the beginning of the message. Here are the changes we'd like. Bullet point. Home page. As we discussed, we'd like to replace the stock photo of the guy with a group shot. Bullet point. Banner. Can we change it to a darker blue? Bullet point. Font. Can it be larger? The content needs to be easily legible on laptops. Bullet point. Content management system. Can we get a tutorial at some point? By organizing and formatting the changes in a way that makes them easy to scan, Isabel helps John see at a glance the scope of the work he has to do. Thanks again for all your effort. I think the site is going to look great. Please let me know if you have any questions, and please let me know if the June 17th launch date is good for you. Isabel reminds John of the change in the launch date and asks explicitly for a response. All the best, Isabel. Isabel's courteous salutation and closing make her message more pleasant to read and encourage cooperation. For more sample emails, visit www.howtowriteanything.com. 3 times you should never send an email. Email is literally at the tips of our fingers as we sit at our desks, but there are times when defaulting to this super convenient mode of communication is not a good idea. Here are a few times you should not send an email. When you know or suspect that anyone in your company has done something illegal or unethical. All written communication, including email and instant messages, is discoverable in legal proceedings, and you could end up incriminating the parties involved. Such information is better discussed face-to-face. When you need to apologize and can do so in person, a face-to-face apology to a colleague means more than an email mea culpa. If you have the chance to speak to the person you've offended, choose that route rather than an email apology. When you're angry. Firing off an angry email can feel good in the moment, but you're likely to say something you'll later regret. Take the time to calm down before you hit send. Email, pet peeves and preferences. Everyone has a pet peeve when it comes to email. For Len Elliott, financial aid director at a major Midwestern research university, it's thank you emails. The thank you is implied. There is no question this is what I'm expected to do. I don't want a thank you email. There's nothing endearing to me about the thank you email. Len processes financial aid payments to hundreds of students, including all internal and external awards for PhD students in 15 research departments. He estimates he receives about 70 emails a day, 30 of which involve serious problems that each require as much as 4 hours of work. Sometimes during his busy season from July through September, Len misses checking his emails for several days. I look at my inbox and it has 400 emails in it, and I think, is this something else I have to do? I dread opening them, and then there's nothing worse than a stale thank you. But what about courtesy? Isn't it polite to say thank you when someone helps you? I really don't need a thank you, says Len, but if it makes you feel better, if I really got you out of a bind or something, just put it in the subject line. Len goes on to talk about Catherine, a former colleague in the registrar's office. Once she had finished a task, she simply added the word done in front of the email subject line, and her readers understood there was no need to open that message. Done, says Len. That's my favorite 4-letter word. Catherine's solution is one that organizations are adopting to cut down on time spent on opening emails needlessly. Many people now write their entire message, if it's brief, in the subject line, followed by EOM for end of message. For instance, when a programmer writes, Adam working from home today, EOM, his colleagues know they don't have to open that message. They can simply delete it from their inboxes. As the technology of communication evolves, so do its protocols. Staying flexible and being sensitive to the needs of others is the cure for most email pet peeves. To share your own email pet peeves, visit www.howtowriteanything.com. Request/inquiry. Requests and inquiries, requests for information, are some of the most common of business communications. Taking the time to plan and craft your request, rather than just winging it, can significantly increase your chances of getting what you want and can save you time and hassle over the long run. Introduction. The fundamental purpose of any request, be it for assistance, information, or any other goal, is to enlist the cooperation of the reader. Putting a request in writing also creates an official record of the request, even if you expect that it might be denied. Thinking from your reader's point of view is key to writing a successful request. What is your reader's potential attitude? What might make it difficult for her to say yes to your request? It's especially important to brainstorm around these issues, anticipate potential objections, and address those in your message. Think how to motivate your reader to respond positively. Organizing your request carefully can help. In general, it's best to state your request at the beginning of the message. The model outline suggests a good structure for your request. As you draft, use a courteous tone and avoid sounding demanding. You should plan to go through several drafts before you send out your request. Revise and rewrite until your request is clear, efficient, and persuasive. Model outline. A request should be concise and clear. Opening. Politely mention your request early in the message so your reader knows why you have written. Middle. Provide details about your request, the reasons behind it, reasons you are asking this reader, how important it is to you. Be concise and courteous. Conclusion. Finish your message by restating your request and thanking your reader. Do address your request to the right person or at least to the right department. Misdirected requests can easily go astray. Do identify yourself in the opening of the message if the reader doesn't already know you. If he might remember you, give him information about where you have met. Do state your request early in the message. Doing so helps orient the reader and allows him to decide whether to read your message now or wait until he can give it more time and attention. Do be specific in your request. The more specific you are, the easier it will be for the reader to give you what you want, and the less potential there is for confusion. Do state the reason you're making the request. Do give the reader all the information he needs in order to grant your request, including any documentation related to your request. Let the reader know how you prefer to be contacted if it's not apparent. Do let the reader know how important the request is to you. How will you benefit if he grants your request? How might he benefit? Do give a deadline, if applicable and appropriate. A vague deadline like ASAP is easy to disregard. It's courteous to let the reader know the reason behind the deadline. People are usually motivated to meet a deadline if they understand it. Do remember to thank your reader. Don't take your reader or his attitude for granted. Don't assume he will say yes. Be respectful of his time. Be aware that the bigger and the more complicated the request, the harder you will need to work to motivate your reader to help you. Don't use a demanding tone. There is a difference between a businesslike tone and an imperious one. Remember that you are trying to foster cooperation in your reader. Don't make a vague request. An inquiry for information should be as specific as possible. Information about what? Don't go on too long. Give your reader the information he needs to make a favorable decision about your request, but not too much more. Don't bully or threaten your reader in any way. Taking a hostile or threatening tone can backfire. Unless friendly requests have failed repeatedly, be pleasant and cooperative. Don't grovel. Don't apologize for taking up the reader's time or hassling him, unless your request really is onerous. If you're respectful and courteous, you needn't be self-effacing. People are actually less likely to help someone who grovels. Not like this. 2. Mona Williams. From Terry Hope. Re. Bob Donnelly. Dear Ms. Williams, in reference to Bob Donnelly's visit next week, I am writing to confirm the following. Terry would be better off introducing herself and providing some context for this request. Car to and from JFK, itinerary attached. Lunch provided, no tree nuts. Private area for lunch. Terry is a little high-handed and takes her reader for granted. The above in addition to the customary arrangements. What are the customary arrangements? Will Mona know? Please confirm ASAP. What exactly does ASAP mean? Terry would do better to provide a specific confirmation date. Thank you for your consideration. This thank you is a bit pro forma and doesn't sound sincere. Mona will probably help Terry, but she might not want to. Terry Hope. Like this. To Mona Williams. From Terry Hope. Re. Bob Donnelly. Dear Ms. Williams, I am writing on behalf of Bob Donnelly, who will be speaking at the Springs Conference next week. Terry introduces herself. She lets Mona know who Bob is and why the request is important. Bob has asked that I work with you to iron out the details of his trip. I would appreciate it if you would make the following arrangements for Bob. Bullet point. Car to and from JFK. I am attaching Bob's itinerary. Bullet point. Lunch at the conference. Bob prefers to eat alone so he can review his materials. Please ensure his lunch has no tree nuts, as he is very allergic. Terry provides a reason for this special request. Bullet point. Materials copied and distributed to participants. I am attaching a PDF of his handouts. Although these arrangements are customary, Terry spells them out anyway to make Mona's job easier. Let me know if you have any questions. Could you please confirm by March 28th? A specific confirmation date lets Mona know what the timeline is on the request. Thank you very much for your help. Best wishes, Terry Hope. Terry is friendly and courteous throughout. Instant message. Sending instant messages at the office seems as quick and simple as having a conversation. But that very simplicity carries some risks. A little attention to etiquette and common sense will make your instant messaging with colleagues even faster and more effective. Introduction. The purpose of an instant message is typically to send a quick message or ask a quick question of a colleague. Anticipate that your reader is just as rushed as you are, if not more so, and plan accordingly. While there's little brainstorming required for such a brief message, it's a good idea to spend a few seconds to be sure your IM is clear and specific. Sending a vague message that requires several rounds of messages to clarify defeats the purpose. Organize your message so its purpose is apparent right away. Instant messaging is no place for long preludes and explanations. Give your IM a quick proofread before you hit send to make sure it's free of typos. A quick revision can save time. Do respect your colleagues' availability status. If they're busy or unavailable, you may ask an urgent question if you let them know it's urgent, but don't expect a reply. Do ask if the person is busy before you launch into a long IM. Do make your "Are you there?" message more specific by letting the person know what you want to ping about. Do wait for the other person to finish typing before you pile on more comments. If you see the other person is typing, wait until you see what she has to say. She may be in the process of answering the question you're still typing out. Do be sensitive to organizational culture in your use of emoticons. Emoticons can be useful in conveying tone when you're writing fast. However, not all organizations view them as acceptable. Follow the lead of others in that regard. Do close the thread with a thank you or some other courteous closing. Do be very careful what you're doing if you have more than one instant messaging conversation going at a time. Be especially careful if you have both personal and business chats open. Not that you would ever do that at work. It's very easy to type in the wrong space when you have a lot of these windows open. Be sure you aren't sending a message to your boss, that you intended for your boyfriend. Don't overuse instant messaging. Keep in mind that when you send someone an IM, you're interrupting him, even if he chooses not to answer you at that moment. Think before you ping. Do you need this answer right now? Is it worth interrupting your colleague? Would it be better to save up a few questions and ask them all at once? Don't use a very informal tone in work-related IMs. It's very easy to get very casual when you're communicating in this medium, especially if you're in the habit of using it with friends. Remember, you're at work, and keep your vocabulary and tone appropriate for your setting. Don't use humor unless you're sure your conversation partner will understand and appreciate it. Tone can be difficult to convey, and you're better off erring on the side of caution. Don't use emoticons with your boss. Let your boss dictate the level of formality in your communication. If she sends emoticons, then you can too. Don't say anything in an IM that would embarrass you if it became broadly known. Instant messaging is not private. Although the instant messaging window disappears when you close it or shut down your computer, many instant messaging platforms have logging systems, and what you write may be recoverable. Like email, instant messaging conversations are discoverable in legal proceedings, so proceed with caution. Not like this. Benjamin says, 10:21:31 a.m. Are you there? Steve says, 10:22:12 a.m. Yep. Benjamin says, 10:22:16 a.m. Do you have a minute? Benjamin is considerate in asking Steve if he has time to chat, but he'd be wise to speed things up. Steve says, 10:22:26 a.m. Just meeting at 10:30. Benjamin says, 10:22:32 a.m. Okay, I have some questions about the documents for Ventana. Steve has let Benjamin know he's in a rush, so Benjamin really should ask his question directly right now. Steve says, 10:22:34 a.m. Okay. Benjamin says, 10:22:40 a.m. I'm not sure what to do about the bios. Should I be taking them off the website, or are there new ones for the pitch docs? Steve says, 10:22:44 a.m. I'm not handling that. Ask Karen. Benjamin says, 10:22:51 a.m. I can't go. I have to stay late. FFF! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Benjamin is evidently instant messaging with a friend while all this is going on, and he has inadvertently typed his message to her in the wrong window. Uh-oh. Steve says, 10:22:54 a.m. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Benjamin says, 10:23:04 a.m. Sorry, LOL. Poor harried Steve is probably not laughing out loud at this moment. Benjamin says, 10:23:10 a.m. So, you're not coordinating the bios? Steve says, 10:23:17 a.m. Nope. Karen. Benjamin says, 10:23:49 a.m. Sorry. Smiley face. The smiley probably isn't going to help. Frowny face. Like this. Benjamin says, 10:21:31 a.m. Do you have a minute? I have some questions about the bios for the Ventana pitch. Benjamin efficiently asks Steve if he is available and lets him know what he needs. Steve says, 10:22:12 a.m. I'm not handling the bios. Ask Karen. Benjamin says, 10:22:16 a.m. Okay, thanks. Steve says, 10:22:26 a.m. NP. By asking the question up front while still respecting Steve's time, Benjamin has saved them both a lot of hassle. Business letter. Email has replaced the business letter for most day-to-day business communications. However, there are some occasions that still call for a formal business letter printed on paper and sent through the postal mail. Cover letters that accompany contracts, agreements, or other documents are often old-style formal business letters. Sending a business letter through the postal mail return receipt requested is still a popular way to confirm that the recipient received your communication. And although it may be hard to believe, there are still some businesses that do not carry out transactions electronically. Writing a formal business letter may be a dying art, but it's one that you're likely to need at some point. Model outline. A business letter follows a traditional outline. Your address appears at the top either as part of your letterhead or typed out. Date, spell out the month, and include the year. Inside address, the address of your recipient. Subject line. Some letters include a subject or reference line. Salutation. Use "Dear" followed by a colon. Body of the letter. Closing. Sincerely is the typical closing for a business letter. Signature. Your handwritten signature. Name and title. Your name, typewritten, your title on the line below. Identification line. If the letter was dictated, the initials of the writer appear in capital letters, followed by a colon and the initials of the assistant in small letters. Enclosures. If your letter includes enclosed items, type ENC, period, or enclosures. If your letter includes more than one enclosure, note the number in parentheses. Copies. If the letter is being copied to multiple parties, indicate so by typing CC followed by the names of the recipients. PS. If there is a PS, it is typed here. Do print your business letter on company letterhead. If your company does not have letterhead, or if you are writing as an individual on a business-related matter, type your name and address centered at the top of the page. Do format your letter completely with the recipient's name and address and date. Do use a formal salutation. For a formal letter, it's conventional to use Mr. or Ms. in addressing the recipient, rather than the recipient's first name. Do use a formal tone in your letter. In general, business letters are more formal than emails, although there are exceptions, so make sure your tone isn't too casual. Do use block or indented paragraphs in the body of the letter. Do use a formal closing. Sincerely is the most common and most widely appropriate closing. Do sign your letter. Do type your name under your signature. Do, if you have enclosed anything with your letter, type the word enclosure or ENC period below your name, near the bottom of the page. Note the number of enclosures in parentheses. Do, if you are sending copies of the letter to people other than the recipient, indicate so by typing CC, short for courtesy copy, below your name, near the bottom of the page. Don't use a very informal tone. A business letter is more formal than an email. Don't use stilted or legalistic language. A business letter is a formal document, but you should feel free to sound like a human being. Avoid using stilted business-ese, like per your request, enclosed, please find, or legalese, like the undersigned, in referring to yourself. Like this. Centered at the top of the page, Arroyo Theater Company, 1776 Colorado Boulevard, Pasadena, California, 91108, 626-798-0001. info@arroyotheater.org. On the right-hand side, October 3rd, 2012. On the left-hand side, Mrs. Lois H. Brown, 2397 Bonnie Bray Road, Altadena, California 91001. Dear Mrs. Brown, it was a pleasure to meet you at the theater on Sunday. I always enjoy meeting our patrons, and I was delighted to hear that you had been attending our performances for so long. Thank you for being such a loyal supporter of Arroyo. I had a look in our files, and I was able to find the enclosed program for last year's production of Volpone. I hope you'll enjoy it. That one was particularly fun to direct, and I have very fond memories of the production. I will ask Wendy if she has contact information for Lawrence. If there is anything else I can do for you, please let me know. I look forward to seeing you again soon at the theater. Next up is Bartholomew Fair, which opens November 20th. I hope to see you there. Thank you again for your support for Arroyo Theater Company. Sincerely, signed Jeffrey Bergen. Jeffrey Bergen, Artistic Director. Enclosure. CC Wendy Anderson. Memo. A memo, short for memorandum, is a form of internal business communication often used to share policy updates, schedule changes, information about new hires, and other company business. Once upon a time, paper memos were the staple of interoffice communication. Today, most memos are distributed via email. Some organizations still use paper memos for certain purposes, such as cover memos attached to documents or other printed materials. Whatever medium it takes, the memo form is still useful for communication within the office. Introduction. The purpose of a memo is typically to convey information to your colleagues or to ask them to do something. The success of your memo hinges on your readers actually reading it. People sometimes assume that anything coming from inside the organization is less important than communications from clients or customers. To improve your chances of getting your readers' attention, make your memo easy to scan and make the stakes clear. Take the time you need to brainstorm the content. Make sure your memo is complete. Think from your reader's point of view. What information do they need in order to do what you're asking them to do? Be sure to organize your memo to make the most of your reader's time. State your reason for writing and get the important information in early. If there are action steps for the readers, make those very clear. If possible, allow yourself a couple of drafts before you send your memo out. Write in a collegial tone to get the maximum attention and cooperation. As you revise your draft, try to see the memo from your reader's point of view. Is the message clear? Will the readers know what's expected of them? Check to make sure you correct any embarrassing typos or misspellings. A very important memo, for instance, one that describes a policy change, should be reviewed by management or someone else before you circulate it. Do be clear about the purpose of your memo. A memo should have a single purpose. It should not be a compendium of different information you want to share. Do send your memo to the right audience. Make sure everyone receiving the memo really needs to read it. Do use an effective subject line. Whether your memo is an email or printed on paper, use a concise and specific subject line to let readers know what it's about and, if it's an email, to make it easy for readers to find in their inboxes later. Do use the appropriate format for a paper memo. The sample to follow shows the correct formatting. Do get right to the point. Make it easy for the reader to understand the reason for the memo. Do keep it brief and concise. Your memo stands a better chance of being read, and being read carefully, if it is brief. Do use formatting to make your memo easy to skim. Short paragraphs, bulleted lists, and subheadings can break up long memos into easily digestible chunks. Do be very clear about any action that is required. Do note at the bottom of the memo if there are any attachments. Do be polite especially if you are asking the reader to do something. Don't drone on too long. The longer your memo is, the less likely recipients are to read it. Don't obscure your meaning by using businessese. Rather than commence or initiate, try using begin. Instead of subsequent to, try after. Don't use salutations or closings as in a letter. The memo format does not include these. Not like this. 2. Futura team. From Lisa Myers. Subject, office move. Date, 1/22/13. Lisa should be more specific with her subject line. The staff have probably received several communications about the office move at this point, and they might not read this one. This memo isn't just background information or an announcement. It's asking the staff to do something. Make sure they read it. As you are aware, our office move has been scheduled for mid-February for some time now. We have just received a firm date from the movers, and I would like to take this opportunity to outline the process so you will be aware of what is happening. This opening paragraph is a bit misleading, and it's a missed opportunity. Lisa is not just outlining the moving process. She's also asking her colleagues to do a few specific things to prepare for the movers. If you're writing a memo to ask for action, make that clear up front. The actual move will take place over the weekend of February 15th, and we expect to be up and running in the new space on Monday morning, February 18th. To accomplish this, we are all going to have to work together. The more fully you cooperate, the more smoothly the move will go. As you know, the annual goal-setting meeting is happening on February 24th, so it is critical that we get the move done right so there is minimal disruption to operations. This very important point, that the company cannot afford any downtime owing to a mismanaged move, feels buried here. It's a good way to motivate people to get themselves organized for the move. Lisa should find a way to highlight it, to let people know the stakes of getting it right. The movers will pack up the office on February 15th and will effectuate the move over the weekend. Consequently, it is not necessary for you to come to work on the 15th. However, it is critically important that your office be prepared for the movers by the time you leave on Thursday the 14th. This means no piles of loose papers on your desks, no food, no knickknacks that will slow down the movers. Ideally, bring your work to a temporary stopping point by COB Thursday. You may leave items in your drawers. If you know there is something you'll need on Monday morning, be sure you know where it is. If you have any breakable items of a personal nature, vases, plants, and so on, it would be wise to take them home for the weekend. Better safe than sorry. This paragraph reads very much like a first draft. It meanders and it doesn't emphasize important points. It's a little hard to follow. Lisa would have better results if she made this information as easy as possible to scan rather than requiring her colleagues to read it carefully. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for your cooperation. Like this. To Futura team. From Lisa Myers. Subject, office move, February 15th. Date, 1/22/13. Lisa uses her subject line to let the readers know the date of the move. Lisa gets the critical information into the first sentence of the memo. We finally have a date for the office move. The movers will be here Friday, February 15th, and will be up and running in our new space on Monday the 18th. To be ready for the annual goal-setting meeting on February 24th, annual goal-setting meeting on February 24th is in bold text, we'll need to work together to make this move fast and smooth. Lisa conveys the high stakes of this move to her readers and highlights the information by bolding the text. Bullet point. Please have your desk cleared and ready to be moved by COB Thursday the 14th. This means nothing on the surface of your desk. You may leave items in the drawers. Bullet point. Don't leave anything breakable in the office. Bullet point. The office will be closed Friday, February 15th. Bullet point. Be ready to hit the ground running on Monday the 18th. Breaking out this information in bullet points helps readers see what's being asked of them. We'll celebrate the move after the meeting on the 24th. Please let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for your cooperation. Business apology. Sometimes regrettable things happen at work, flare-ups between co-workers, misunderstandings, failures to meet the expectations of colleagues or customers. An apology can help put things right. Some people worry that an apology makes them look weak. On the contrary, a sincere apology shows that you value the relationship and that you take responsibility for your actions. Give some thought to the best way to deliver your apology. Sometimes a face-to-face meeting is the best choice. You can also use a typed note or an email. The degree of the transgression and the nature of the relationship will help you decide the best format for your apology. Introduction. The purpose of an apology is to let your reader know that you're aware you made a mistake and you're sorry for the pain or distress it caused him. A message of apology also gives you the opportunity to show how you're going to fix the problem, if that's possible. Understanding your reader and his likely attitude can help you shape your message. What is your relationship? Is your reader your boss, your customer, someone who reports to you? How is he likely to respond to your apology? Most people are willing to forgive if you address them appropriately. Take some time to brainstorm what you want to say. A perfunctory and thoughtless apology can be worse than none at all. Think from your reader's point of view and address the issues most important to him. Organize your apology so that the actual apology, the "I'm sorry" part, comes first. Any explanation or elaboration can come later. The model outline provides guidance you can adapt for your own message. Your tone will depend on the seriousness of what you're apologizing for and your relationship with your reader. Unless your apology is very simple and straightforward, plan to go through a couple of drafts before you send it. Getting the tone right can be a little tricky. Once you have a draft, take a break and do something else for a little while. Then go back and see if you can put yourself in your reader's shoes, and then revise from there. Be sure your apology is sincere and not defensive. Also, be very careful to avoid leaving typos and other errors in your note, which can send the message that you don't really care that much after all. Model outline. A business apology should be brief and to the point. Opening. Begin your message with acknowledging the infraction and apologizing for it. Middle. Offer the reader an explanation of what happened, assure him it will not happen again. If appropriate, let him know what controls have been put in place to prevent a recurrence. Conclusion. Finish your message by reiterating your apology and letting the reader know you value the business relationship. Do right as soon as you can after the offense. Delaying can make a bad situation worse. Do apologize. Be explicit in saying that you are sorry. If the reader feels you're fudging, your apology could backfire. Do keep it brief. As a business communication, the apology should be concise and to the point. Do be sincere. Do explain. Let the reader know the cause of the breach. He's entitled to an explanation, and he wants to know that you didn't act from a lack of regard for him. Do, if there is something you can do to rectify the problem, let the reader know what you're doing. Do, if appropriate, assure the reader that it won't happen again. Don't make excuses. If you made a mistake, admit it. You don't have to beat yourself up, but be sure you don't say anything to suggest that your behavior was really no big deal. Don't shift the blame to others. If others genuinely played a role, You may include that information in your explanation, but don't use it to evade taking responsibility for your own actions. Don't blame the reader. An apology that says, "I'm sorry, but you should have," is not going to be received well. Sometimes people are so uncomfortable with admitting they've behaved badly that they unconsciously blame the reader. This can be subtle, so be alert to the risk. Don't grovel. Maintain your dignity. Don't say anything that could create legal liability, particularly if you are apologizing to a client or customer on behalf of your company. Take care that you do not open yourself up to liability you don't want. If you are unsure about liability issues, consult with your manager or legal counsel. Not like this. Dear team, my behavior in the staff meeting this morning was unacceptable. Henry would be better off starting his note saying he's sorry. He's critical of his own behavior, but he stops short of apologizing here, and it weakens his message. Frankly, the habitual lateness to these meetings has stressed me out, and my episode was a response to that. By blaming his staff's habitual lateness for his episode, Henry is more likely to alienate his readers than placate them. It may well be that he had a good reason to be upset, but he should deal with that problem separately from the apology for his bad behavior. As you all know, I am embroiled in working out the final budget for next year, reviewing the folders and interviewing candidates for Jan's position. I was in meetings solidly from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. yesterday. Henry's going on too long, and he's begun whining. I hope we can get back on track. I very much enjoy working with all of you and look forward to smoother sailing in the future. Again, Henry is sidestepping the apology and shifting the responsibility to other people. Best, Henry. Like this. Dear team, I'm sorry for blowing my stack in the staff meeting this morning. My behavior was unacceptable and I apologize. Henry opens his note with a sincere apology and takes responsibility for his own behavior. As most of you know, I have been juggling a lot of competing priorities and am under a lot of pressure. But that's no excuse for my outburst. I am working with Beth to set up a more realistic schedule for meetings, and I expect to be using my time more efficiently. Henry provides an explanation for his outburst and lets his staff know that he is working to remedy the cause of his stress. Doubtless, the next time Beth sends out a meeting invitation, she will ask that participants arrive promptly, thus addressing the problem with lateness. But Henry does not dilute his apology by shifting blame to the latecomers. Again, I'm sorry. I very much enjoy working with all of you and look forward to smoother sailing in the future. Best, Henry. Henry closes by repeating his apology and looking forward optimistically to the future. Apology when you are not at fault. It can be good manners and build goodwill to send an apology when you haven't done anything blameworthy, but you know a situation will have a negative impact on your associates or clients. Dear team, beginning Monday, September 13th through Friday, September 24th, the kitchen area will be completely out of service for renovations. I am sorry for the inconvenience this will cause. I know a lot of you use the kitchen to prepare your lunch and take snack breaks during the day. As you know, the kitchen is in a dilapidated condition, and I hope that this 2-week disruption will be outweighed by the clean, new, functional facility we'll be able to enjoy once the work is done. Thanks for your understanding. Rebecca. Apology for poor customer service. When a glitch occurs in your otherwise stellar customer service, you should take responsibility and apologize right away. Consider offering the customer some compensation. Handling the apology well can undo the damage done and actually strengthen your relationship with your customer. Be especially careful to avoid the passive voice in your apology. Don't say, "The wrong item was shipped." Instead, take responsibility. We shipped the wrong item. Dear Ms. Rodriguez, we understand that we shipped the wrong item to you and we apologize for the error. We shipped out the correct item this morning. Would you please use the attached label to return the item shipped in error? We would like to extend a 10% discount to you on your next order. Please use the attached discount code the next time you order online or provide the code to the associate if you order by phone. Again, we apologize for the error. We look forward to serving you in the future. Sincerely, Simon Polis, Customer Service. The Office Apology. Making apologies in the office can be a challenge, but choosing the right form for your apology can make it more effective. When should you write, and when should you apologize face-to-face? In-person apologies are often best because they allow you to connect with the other person and convey your genuineness. Face-to-face apologies take courage. They require you to own up to your mistakes while remaining calm and confident. If you've lost your temper over an ongoing issue, apologizing immediately may not be the best course. Consider instead waiting a day or two and then offering your apology along with a suggestion about how to address the issue going forward. There are other times when a written apology is called for. If you are part of a virtual team or always on the road and unable to connect in person, a prompt email apology is in order. You may also want to communicate in writing if you want to apologize to a group rather than to an individual. Finally, a written apology, either an email or personal note, may be in everyone's best interest if you feel you may react emotionally to the other person, if you're feeling defensive, or if you're likely to go on and on explaining, rationalizing, or making excuses. The keys to any effective apology, whether in person or in writing, are its sincerity and its timeliness. Own up to what you said or did. Own up to how it has affected the other person without making excuses. And finally, change your behavior going forward. Whether you decide to apologize in person or in writing, be sure you don't leave it too long. Even in a difficult situation, waiting weeks and weeks is not the answer. An apology that comes late and without real change attached to it is meaningless. The good news is that, whatever form they take, timely and sincere apologies are disarming and can go a long way to improving relationships at work. Diane A. Ross is a speaker, writer, and coach, and the author of The Elephant in the Office: Super Simple Strategies for Difficult Conversations at Work. Her website is http://dianeaross.com.